Hi, my name is Herman. I'm a writer at PopConversation. I'm here with Miss Anita today. She's a travel journalist. She does hosting on for television programs. She's a writer and she's a radio host. The only thing that she cannot do is juggle, I think.
Hi, everybody. That was very well put. Thank you very much. You read my website real well.
I'm a host on Lonely Planet's program Stress Busters. Singaporeans live in a city, and people from the city, they're rather stressed most of the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times when we're stressed, we try to de-stress by going shopping and the more orthodox things that we do. What other things are really good to do to de-stress?
I think that what we forget to do is actually just take time out. And we always assume that taking time out actually kind of means you got to leave the country, you got to go someplace else. But if you don't have that opportunity, or let's say you don't even have that budget, you can actually just spend time with yourself. And that's what I do. Because I travel a lot, and I face a lot of people, and I have the stresses of work, which are quite normal, and they're not negative stresses, they're positive stresses. But when it comes to negative stress, I always feel that the best person you can talk to is yourself. Time out means, you close the curtains, you turn your phone off, you turn the iPad off, and everything else, forget social media. And I think you can actually regenerate that way. It's not one of those things that's like, yeah, big time cliche. It's not. You can really do it.
Brilliant. Nowadays, right, with a lot of modern conveniences and just the hustle and bustle of life, it's much easier to get jaded and be a little bit cynical about everything. How does one rediscover the adventure and the sense of wonderment that we had when we were younger?
Get angry. Have opinions. I think the thing about being jaded is that you no longer have a sense of belonging, or things haven't passed you by, or you become so blasé about life. And I think if you actually have an emotion, whether it's anger or wonder or whatever it is, I find that being interested in things that are going wrong keeps me going. I'm a bit of a, for the underdog. And that's what keeps me young and keeps me alive and keeps me wanting to do things and moving forward. And I think anyone that says that they're jaded has kind of given up a little bit. They've given up a little bit on life. They've given up on being a participant of life. And it's fine if you decide to opt out of life. You decide to opt out of regular life. So you want to be a hermit on the mountain? Cool, great. But if it's just because it's like, oh my God, I'm beyond this, and this is just too much for me, and I can't do it anymore, well, that's a decision that you've made, but it's actually quite a negative decision.
I was thinking, right, if one was not really just used to the idea of just stepping up and creating change, how does one just take steps to do so in small, sizable ways?
I think you can start with trying to express yourself. We have so many ways to express yourself. You have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have blogs, and everybody can be their own agent of change in one way or the other. But I think it needs to come not from having some kind of just knee-jerk reaction. I think you have to think about what is it that you really believe in and what do you actually stand for. We can all be the amplifiers and the loudspeakers, but if you use that wisely, you can be an amplifier or a loudspeaker for change. Think about what you actually believe in. What do you stand for in this world? You can be 12 years old and have a stand. And I have met some 12-year-olds who have a great stand in life. And I've met some 50-year-olds who still don't know what they're doing.
It's true. There are a lot of talented people out there who produce great content, but sometimes it's just really difficult to get seen.
Yeah.
And it just gets lost somewhere, and they go for years without being discovered. That's why we call it discovering a talent.
Sure.
How does one get out of obscurity to be at a stage where they are among audiences who really appreciate what they do?
I think what's going to happen is that writers, actors, anybody that's ever had to work independently has always worked in obscurity before making it big. What's really happened is that you have now this whole culture of reality TV, of discovering a person and in 8 weeks turning them into a star, X Factor or American Idol. So we all now seem to think that it takes a much shorter time. But it really doesn't. And the people who are really great at what they do have toiled at it for quite a long time. And even people who make it big at 22 probably started acting when they were 12. So if you really look at that, I think what's missing is this ability to stay the course, to know that it takes a good 10 years for anything that is creative, oriented, to actually really bear fruit.
Our perceptions are skewed by media sometimes, and so we think things really work the way they do on TV.
Yeah, well, you can put it this way: the reality of reality TV is not the reality.
It's not.
you know?
Beautiful play on words. 2012 is coming, and if the Mayans were not right about the world ending in 2012, what would you wish for Singapore and the world?
First of all, I don't think
That's
the world.
such a Miss Universe question.
It is a totally Miss Universe.
That's my tiara.
These questions. Well, it is my tiara and my wand. But in all seriousness, I don't think the world is going to end in the physical sense. I do believe that if you look at the way things have been going throughout 2012, the world is changing in a very dramatic way.
It is.
The ivory towers are crumbling. All of the falsities that we have allowed ourselves to get taken on in a tide, and that, by the way, is also on our own lives, in our own world. Never mind, the big things that are happening as well. I think it's the year that all of the things that need to crumble and fall, it comes to fruition.
You can only build on a house of cards for so long before.
Absolutely. I have an old friend in town. So,
that's really
high school.
Singapore too?
No, he's actually. Where was he born? He was born in Holland.
Holland. So he is. What do they call people from Holland? Hollandish.
Dutch. Hello, we call them Dutch.
Geography fail.
Yes, fail.
In the age of social media, we are getting more connected. We are getting much more connected than we ever were. But there's a sense of distance still. It's almost ironic that we live out our lives so much in cyberspace that we social media is actually distancing us from each other in real world. Are we getting enough face time?
We're not, but then it comes down to personal control, right? I'm absolutely guilty of it. I'm a text demon, a text demon. I can text with just one hand. I am very active on Facebook, a little bit on Twitter, because I do find Twitter sometimes a little bit impersonal, whereas Facebook is much more personal. I think it comes down to self-control, and I've had to say that to myself as well, where I'm sending this text that I could have picked up the phone. What is it that stops me? And I think that what happens with texting or typing is that there is a lot less commitment required.
That's true.
When you pick up the phone and have a conversation with someone, the commitment is that you need to be well man, not polite, have a nice conversation, and then put the phone down. Whereas with this, I can do this, I can then do that, I can do that and this. I have a couple of friends who will never text. If I send them a text, they will pick up the phone. And sometimes it shocks me when my phone rings. I'm like, what? There's a phone call? 90% of the communication I do actually is more text when it even is necessarily Facebook. And it's like, how is it that I am shocked that I'm getting a phone call? What happened?
Yeah. I'm going to send you a pigeon. The pigeon's going to have a letter.
We totally need this. Haven't you promised me? I expect my pigeon to arrive on the 1st of January 2012. I think he's at a loss for words.
Because I'm trying to think if pigeons still do that or not.
In Delhi, there are many people who have pigeons on their roofs, and they send the pigeons out in these beautiful formations. And all the pigeons, the pigeons are homing. You can see this at dusk, all these thousands of pigeons, and they belong to different people, and they just fly in formations, and then they go back to
the only worry that they would have is that their mail gets intercepted by a hawk.
This is true, but that's a whole different story.
Last question.
Okay. He said that 5 questions ago.
I said that 10 questions ago. How does one go about empathizing with a stranger or somebody that you might not really know? How does one reach out to another person?
You have to leave your heart open. And I think you asked me a question before about, how do you make life better for yourself and your community and It's really leave your heart open. I mean, what right do you have to close your heart off? To walk past something and pretend it doesn't exist? To look at someone who's clearly begging and saying, you don't deserve it. Who are you to decide? How do you know? I have been duped about 101,000 times by people asking me for money, and I still won't. If I really think it's a dangerous situation, I won't. But it doesn't bother me because at the end of the day, your need is greater than mine. And empathy should be about an open heart. Is there any other way?
Anita, sometimes I find that a lot of the people who are in need of things, they're physical manifestation of people's societal issues that might not be solved by way of donations, or they're just short-term solutions to what needs to be changed, maybe a structure of how things work. And poverty is always like it always runs deeper than just the people being poor. It's always like maybe the government or something.
It's a coming together of many different structures that were, it's about trying to have one size fit all, and one size does not fit all.
On a lighter note, right? Do you think Justin Bieber will still be as hot in 2012?
You know what? I thought that he was going to grow into this really not very good looking guy, but he's actually becoming hotter.
This one's got a Bieber fever too.
No, I don't have the Bieber fever, I just think it's such an interesting phenomenon. He's not a bad singer, but let's just see. Let's just give him another few years and see whether he's still considered as hot, because teenage girls are very fickle.
They are. Oh man, all those people on TV leaving a sweet 16. Oh god, that show horrific.
You know what is really, really quite terrifying is that you actually know that show. Don't try to defend yourself. Really, it's
I have my guilty pleasures too.
Just have a drink.
I need something to hit. What's going to be coming up in 2012 that's going to be really exciting that people can look forward to?
For me?
Or
in life?
In your space. In your space of entertainment and media.
Gosh, that's huge. I think people still talk.
Louis Vuitton, another one. In the sky.
I think that what I hope to see is a lot more multilingual content. In Singapore, in Asia, in the world, and lots more subtitles, please, because I think what's starting to happen, at least with the set of people I know, is that we're not just watching English movies or English variety shows or English lifestyle programs. We actually want to mix it up. I want to know more about this big continent that we have. And I hope and I pray that that's exactly what's going on. And from what I see of the deals that have been reached and made, it's going on all throughout Asia, where there's lots more, content that's in another language. And I'm excited about that.
That's the best I could manage. Sawadee Dankeschön. I lose.
Hi, I'm Anita Kapoor, and you are watching and reading PopConversation.